some of the most humble people I know are the wealthiest. A lot of people have this perception that they need more income in order to create wealth, but the problem is not your income. Wealth is not built on theatre, it is built on discipline. Surrounding myself with truly wealthy people is that those people do not care about how you look. Instead of wasting money proving things to people who don't actually matter in your life, I want you to do me one favor. I want you to welcome to Rich and Regulated, where women learn to build wealth in alignment and flow. I'm Jessica Soul. For over a decade, I've helped women create the lives of their dreams, and here I'll share how I build wealth, fast-track results, and reveal money truths that will blow your mind. Let's get wealthy. Hello. I am back again for another riff on something that I've been noticing lately that I really want to bring to the forefront of conversation. And one of the reasons I want to talk about this is because a lot of people have this perception that they need more income in order to create wealth. But the problem is not your income. For many people, the behavior is the problem. And why I want to bring this to the forefront is because I literally work with people and I see people earning multiple six figures a year. And actually, to be honest, in the coaching industry, I see women who are doing $50,000, $100,000 months in income. And they're walking around the street with their YSL bags and they're driving these ridiculous cars. And then when it comes to doing something like investing into crypto or making their money multiply, I hear this said to me more often than not, I actually don't have a lot in my savings. And it literally shocks me because there are other people that I know that are living on modest incomes and quietly building real wealth behind the scenes. And what I've noticed is that people's behavior these days seems to correlate with trying to keep up with the Joneses and literally trying to keep up with people like the Kardashians. And it's getting so ridiculous. You know, years gone by, I actually remember like poor people looking poor, right? And now what I'm seeing is there is this thing that people seem to be fine with, which is the fact that even if they're struggling financially, they still have this great desire to look wealthy, driving the nice cars, wearing the designer clothes, purchasing way too many coffees every day, buying $27 chili margarita on a Tuesday night after work, but not actually understanding that this behavior is creating long-term scarcity and potential poverty for their family. Now, I want to give some context to this because while it may seem like I'm just lecturing you all, this used to be me, you know, and that's why I really want to speak into this. You know, there were years gone by where we would travel overseas and be living off like the last pennies in our account, yet still think it was fine to go and purchase designer bags and buy expensive dinners when we knew that those things were really just filling voids inside of us from an emotional place, and we didn't have any self-responsibility around it. And in Australia, there are so many people, we've noticed this, I've particularly noticed this in the last few years, that look so damn wealthy, yet when you talk to them, they barely have a penny to their name. And it's really, it's shocking to me. Now, something that I want to talk to you about today, and I think that this may hit home for some people, but what I have come to understand, particularly when surrounding myself with truly wealthy people, is that those people do not care about how you look. They do not care about impressing people. Some of the most humble people I know are the wealthiest. And impressing people actually will cost you more than you could even imagine. And so I want to give you something that you may be able to take with you today. And I want you to write this down. Wealth is not built on theatre. It is built on discipline. Now, I teach this inside of my Build Your Wealth portal, and I want to give you an understanding of how ownership of your choices will actually feel so much better than any sort of exterior validation ever will. So I want to just share a little story with you about something that got said to me probably almost 20 years ago when I was starting my business, and somebody who was fairly successful said to me, "You've got to pretend until you become." And that was the worst piece of advice I have ever received. Because what that did is it had me change my behavior to give a exterior impression of success, even when I was struggling on the inside. Even when behind the scenes there was so much stress, there was so much dysregulation, and to be honest, there was so much lack of self-responsibility. And I want you to have a think about some of the things in your life that you can change just by listening to this short conversation. Because I work with people and I have very specific goals for what I want people to have as a result of working with me inside of my coaching space. Now, let me ask you, have you, number one, got a system that supports you getting to a place where you will eventually have at least 3, if not 6 months of money put aside for an emergency? What I mean by that is 3 to 6 months worth of income set aside so that if something happens, you are completely regulated and you are completely fine. Most people in Australia have under $5,000 in their savings accounts right now. And to me, that is quite literally shocking when you see those same people going out and buying $27 margaritas, buying 2 to 3 coffees a day. And I just want you to know that $27 a day spent on liquid validation is $10,000 a year that you are deciding not to save for your family. Another thing that I work with my clients around is getting to a point where they can actually save 50% of their income every single week. And for so many people, that sounds absolutely absurd, but it actually isn't an outlandish goal. Because when you're able to put aside more of your income, basically what you're doing long term is you're setting yourself up to become somebody who has that investor mindset. When you have the investor mindset, literally what will happen is you will be able to get the money that you are saving or that you are setting aside, and you will be able to make that money duplicate. And all this comes down to is the stories that you allow to take charge in your head. The stories like, I deserve this, it's just one coffee. Everybody does it, right? And those little stories and those micro behaviors compound against you and your future wealth. So while I have no judgment around the way that people live, what I have seen is just so many people that on the exterior look a certain way, but then the story behind the scenes when it comes to their bank account is completely misaligned with the car they lease. You know, the way that they're defining success by having all of this choice, sipping $15 smoothies and $9 matchas every single day, calling that success, but having no wealth behind them. It's literally just performance. It's literally just putting on a show for an audience that, to be honest, I don't believe is watching you that carefully. So the problem isn't actually the income, it's actually the lack of regulation, the lack of long-term vision, and the lack of systems. And when you're dysregulated, you will literally spend your money in order to soothe yourself, right? You're spending money for short-term satisfaction, and you're doing yourself and your family such a huge disservice. So true freedom really doesn't come from how much money you earn. It comes from controlling your habits and regulating your decisions and understanding that performance is not going to fill your cup for a long time. It is only going to make you feel good for a short time. And the thing is, wealth, I hate to tell you, it's built on boring and consistent repeated behavior over time. Wealth is not built on flexing and pretending or playing like you're rich before you're rich. It is literally just boring, controlled, repeated behaviors in the right direction. So instead of wasting money, proving things to people who don't actually matter in your life, I want you to do me one favor. I want you to open up your bank account. I want you to download a CSV file of the last 30 days of your spending, and I want you to get real about exactly what you've spent just on 1 or 2 things that you know you could live without. Now, that may be the coffee, that may be the cheeky margarita on the weekend, that may be the car that you're leasing that maybe you barely drive, and trust me when I tell you, I know what that feels like because I used to be the woman with the $120,000 car in the driveway that I drove 2 to 3 kilometers a day to school, pick up and back. So I'm not talking from a place of not understanding where you may be, but I'm talking from a place of humility. And trust me, the feeling of understanding your finances and actually being willing to confront yourself and your behavior will literally change the game for you. Because the only reason you do not have what you want, you do not see the future and know that you're willing to hold a vision that is bigger, is purely from the micro decisions and the poor behavior that you're showing every single day. So ultimately, freedom is about knowing that you can weather any storm and walk away from any situation. It's knowing that you will create the life that you want without needing to be controlled by dopamine hits. Wealth is not always about what you earn, but it's about what you keep and how you choose to grow it. So this week, I want you to lean into discipline. I want you to look at what you repeat daily. And instead of that cheeky little coffee or that second round of drinks, let's grow that into some real wealth for the future. If you've gotten value from today's episode, make sure you subscribe and leave a 5-star review. And if you're ready for more support in building regulated wealth strategies, check out the link in the show notes. Have a beautiful day.